Wetlands Board will come to order, and we'd like to welcome all present. Anyone wishing to speak to any of the applications, please indicate so that you can have that opportunity. First off, before I start introducing, like we usually do, I'd like to introduce our two new staff members, and that is Alex, right? Alex Green and Kelsey Rich. She's our
English.
English, I said Rich. English. They are our two new compliance officers that will be here, and with Livia, etc. So, these all things down there. I had that agenda. Shoot. God, I hate the GLA. Okay, the first on the agenda is Wall Point Owners, Homeowners Associations. Is someone here representing them?
Minutes need to be approved.
Oh, no, it's long.
Minutes?
Hey, Joseph Scott, PO Box 315, Kilmarnock, Virginia 22482. I'm the agent for the applicant. You gotta do all your reading and all that stuff first,
Got to
right?
read the ad.
Sorry, I can't hear you.
So you gotta do all your reading it into the record and all that stuff, right, before I start my
yes.
little blurb,
Yes.
nothing.
I failed to introduce the staff too, so you all, please excuse me. But I can do that now, or we can skip it, whichever.
Why don't you go ahead and introduce the staff, and then we'll get back into it.
Introduce the staff?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I'd like to introduce our staff first. Over here is Crystal Way, Glen Rowe, Olivia Hall, of course, we all know her. I don't know the two gentlemen over there, but this is
Jeff Madden from Marine
Jeff.
Resources.
and I introduced the two new officers. To my left is Hannah Sled, Cecil
Little.
Little, Andy Ransom, I'm Edna Revere. Okay, now we'll go with the first applicant, Law Point.
And Joey already introduced himself, so if you'd like to read the ad.
What's that?
If you want to go ahead and read the ad, he introduced himself already.
Yeah, he asked, yeah, I was gonna read it. Law Point Property Owners Association, care of Joey Scott, requests permission to remove the deteriorating 8-slip community pier and replace with a 4-slip community pier from the shoreline of Browns Creek. Replace 2 3-feet wide by 32 feet long piers, 1 3-foot wide by 16-foot finger pier, and 7 associate mooring piles. Pier height to be raised 1 foot higher than existing. Located off Virginia State Highway 784, Laurel Point on Heron Lane. Tax map number 22A-1-29A, BMRC number 23-1054. Go ahead, Joey.
Yeah, so the homeowners association is going to tear down the existing slips that are there that are pretty old and in need of repair. And what they've elected to do when they put it back in is to widen the slips, make less of them, widen the finger piers, just make it a little bit more usable. Everything is, as far as I know from the Department of Health, is up to date. They're okay with it because there's less slips. That will be, as a result, there'll be less slips, so they didn't have an issue with it. And the bulkhead and everything like that's already, that's a vinyl bulkhead, doesn't need to be replaced. They just need to take out what's there, throw in a couple piles, and put the finger piers back together. And I guess since it's a community pier, that's why we're here, so.
That's correct.
Anyone else have anything to add?
No comments from the staff.
Board?
No comment.
Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak to this application? No further comments or additions, etc. I'll entertain a motion, please.
Yeah, I'll move to approve the project as submitted.
I'll second.
All in favor, raise your right hand. That's 4.
Easy one. I'm
That's
not used
right.
to that. Thanks.
Next on the agenda is it Mariah Overcash? Read the ad, please. Mariah Overcash and care of Roger McKinley, Senior. They're requesting permission to install 377 feet of riprap revetment along the ended shoreline of Diamond Creek located off Virginia State Highway 647 Poplar Neck Road on George's Cove Road, tax map number 35-59H and 35-59M, BMRC number 23-0739. Go ahead.
Good morning. Roger McKinley, 691 Mill Point Drive, Heathville, Virginia. As we remember from our site visit on Tuesday, these are two undeveloped lots that the Overcashes have purchased. The riprap revetment is located up against the existing bank. It's very heavily brushed and wooded along the edge of the shoreline there, so some of it's kind of hard to get to, but I think you all were able to see most of it. So I'm willing to answer any questions that you all might have.
Board have any concern?
I don't think so. No, I don't see a problem, and I think it's probably a necessary improvement.
Staff?
Staff agrees that it's a necessary improvement.
I'm sorry.
Staff agrees that it's a necessary improvement.
Okay. Jeff, do you have anything you'd like to say?
I'm curious if thought was given to a living shoreline along that, or?
It's mentioned in there, and the reason that we didn't do that, first of all, we have a private oyster shore that runs along the whole face of this, and second, there are SAVs right out, almost at mean low water, so it just seemed not a good thing to do.
Thank you for correcting that.
Surely.
Appreciate that, sir.
So,
I have no other questions.
Anyone in the audience that wishes to speak to this application? If not, I'll entertain a motion, please.
I guess I'll move to approve as submitted.
I'll second it.
All in favor? Okay, thank you. Next on the agenda is Mr., I guess I'm saying this right?
Nash Winter?
Nash Winter? Is someone here represent, well, I
That would
see him
be,
up there.
that would be me. Roger McKinley, 691 Mill Point Drive in Heathville, Virginia.
Okay, let me read this. William E. Nashwinter, care of Roger McKinley, is requesting permission to install 150 feet of riprap revetment along the eroded shoreline of the Currituck River, located off Virginia State Highway 666 Benson Drive on River Village Drive, tax map number 33F-1-3, BMRC number 23-0453. Go ahead, Ron.
Yes, ma'am. This project, we've been submitting this for quite some time, but as you saw with your site visit on Tuesday, adjacent to the pier, they've had a tremendous washout there, and a large defect has been developed in the bank and is continuing to get worse. So also on my drawing, you'll notice there is an existing fringe marsh that is out in front of where we're proposing to do the revetment up against the bank. So it didn't seem very suitable to try to do a living shoreline. There's already a marsh there. So we're proposing, there's an existing riprap that goes under the dock and extends for about 8 or 10 feet past the pier. We're going to tie into that and extend the riprap all the way down to the upstream side. And at that point, it's a smaller revetment because the bank is lower there. That's that last 35-foot section. And so any questions, I'd be glad to answer for you.
Anyone on the board have any concerns?
No.
Staff?
No concerns from staff.
Do you have any?
No, ma'am, none at this time.
Okay, no comments? Is anyone in the audience that would like to speak to this application? If not, I'll entertain a motion, please.
I'll move to approve as submitted.
Second? From y'all?
I'll second.
It's been moved and second. All in favor, signify by raising your right hand. Okay,
Thank you.
okay. Next on the agenda is Scotty George. Someone here representing him?
Yes, Wayne Savage with Bay Design Group.
Let me read his. Scotty George, care Wayne Savage, is requesting a permit to install 190 linear feet of Natrax sill structures, 6,700 square feet of living shoreline with 2,700 square feet of sand beach nourishment with high marsh plantings and 2 jetties, 154 linear feet and 167 linear feet, located along Annapoison Creek, located off Virginia State Highway 200, Chesapeake Drive on Windmill Point Road, tax map number 35-262F, BMRC number 23-0708. Go ahead.
Thank you. So this piece of property is new development. The client is going to be building a house here in the near future. But first, you'd like to get the shoreline taken care of. There's some slight erosion along the bank, as you might have saw when you were out there. So kind of on the point of land, we're proposing a more traditional living shoreline. We're going to be using, it's actually a new product that hasn't been used in Virginia, but it has been used not only throughout the United States, but also internationally as well. It's basically a 3D modeled printed structure made mainly of concrete or cement and sand. And then they introduce water into it to create the structure. So pretty neat type of design. We found that this is a good location for it. It's low wave energy, and the costs are actually decreased as well in comparison to your traditional riprap stone. And then as you kind of come in around that corner into that little cove, we're proposing, the water gets a little deeper there, so those structures aren't as feasible. So that's why we propose the jetties at that point. The sand kind of migrates around that corner right there, so hoping to help nourish it, and then obviously continue to pick up some sand and keep the erosion off there. The jetties in this situation, they'll work a little bit better than they would obviously in a river situation because the wave energy is much lower. So there's a significant amount of sand nourishment as well as a fair amount of living shoreline plants and high marsh plants. And there's also a dock on there as well. That'll probably be a future thing next couple of years, but this is the erosion control in the living shoreline and the jetties will be a more immediate action to take place. Although I think that's it, but if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer
I'd
them.
like to ask VMRC, this material that they have introduced, he just stated that it had never been used, I think in Virginia. Does VMRC approve of this material that they're going to use?
I don't have any personal knowledge with this particular device, so I can't speak on that. But the regulation in the code does not have any specific language in it directing toward what can and cannot be used. I think that's
So
up to
that wouldn't hold,
that's up to the individual jurisdictions to determine
Oh.
whether they feel it's appropriate or not.
And if I may speak, Jay did email, and there's a copy of that email left for you up there that says that looks like there are no issue with the Natrix blocks in this case. And I know he had some conversations with
I
VIMS
read
about
that.
that as well.
I read it, yes, in the package. Okay, I was just making sure that what we were okay was okay with VMRC, you see.
Yeah, and I've had several conversations with VIMS as well, with Lyle Varnell about it. We've got a couple of projects right now that we're introducing this, in Virginia and really in Lancaster, a couple projects in Lancaster alone. So I've had a couple of conversations with VIMS, and he also has no objection to the use of these structures. So.
Okay.
These come into question when you're in high energy environments where they would have tendency possibly to roll or to be displaced. Another issue has to do with the pressure that the concrete is subjected to. It's trapped in trained air. Less in trained air if they squeeze it tighter. And then lastly, that the issue really is that there's no hydrocarbons of any kind in there that would be a pollutant.
Okay, I just wanted to,
Yes, ma'am.
clarify this project that we're approving here.
Sure.
Okay, anyone on the board wish to speak to this?
Nope.
Any of the staff wish to speak to this?
The
You have-
living shoreline element looks really good, so I think it'll be a nice improvement for that
Okay.
area.
Well, if anyone in the audience wish to speak to this application? If not, then I entertain a motion.
Yeah, I move to approve as submitted. I think it's a good project, particularly the addition of the living shoreline. But I move to approve the project as submitted.
I'll second.
It's been moved and second, all in favor? Okay,
Thank you.
good enough. Who's the next one? What's that? Oh, yeah. The next on the agenda is Janice Allen. Is someone here representing?
Yes, ma'am. Otis Cockrell with Eco Construction.
Okay, let me read this, please. Janice Allen, Care Otis Cockrell, is requesting permission to install 211 feet of riprap revetment along the shoreline of the eastern branch of Carter's Creek, located off Virginia State Highway 003, Maryball Road, on Blueberry Point Road, tax map number 34-26A, VMRC number 23-0684. Go ahead, Mr. Coppell.
I don't know, you guys saw it, and I'm sorry I didn't get the sign up. The bulkhead's failing, obviously needs to be fortified. I guess the discussion on the revetment and why we're not doing a living shoreline there, with the trees and the growth and the northern exposure, I really don't think the marsh grass has much of a chance to protect that bank, and that bank's going to continue to slough. And she's got a couple trees up there that she really doesn't want to lose. So that's why I recommended we go with a revetment against that bank.
Is that all? Anyone on the board wish to speak to this?
Yeah, just, I'm an adjacent homeowner, and I have a sill and a marsh, like, right next door, and it's thriving. I'm just curious as to why you think it won't
Well,
work in this location.
I've been doing this longer than anybody else, and I've seen them thrive better. You're shaded, you know, you got a lot of trees
You've
back
seen it
there.
thrive better.
She's got more shade than you do, and she doesn't want to lose her trees. Had we been able to tie your two together, that might have been a different story, but you didn't wish to do that. So the little section that she's left to protect, I feel this is the best solution.
Anyone else? Staff?
There are visibly a few more trees further down on the embankment, and it is northwesterly facing on the slope, so we'll add that. And no other comment.
You have any?
No comment.
You? No comment. Do you have any?
No comment at this time, Madam
Okay.
Chairman.
Anyone in the audience wish to speak to this? If not, I'll entertain a motion, please.
Yeah, I move to approve the project as submitted.
I'll second.
Motion's been made and second to approve the project as submitted. All in favor signify by raising your right hand. Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Who next? Ernest Brown. Someone here representing him? Okay, state your name.
Yes, good morning. Roger McKinley, 691 Mill Point Drive in Eastville, Virginia, 22473.
Okay. Ernest Brown in care of Roger McKinley is requesting permission to construct approximately 75 linear feet of riprap sill with beach sand backfill and 2 40-foot riprap spurs along the shoreline of Ops Cove, located off Virginia State Highway 637 James Wharf Road on Yops Cove, tax map number 33-483L, BMRC number 23-0777. And when I saw the 75 and then I looked at the application and it said 135, I realized that Olivia had taken care of all of that and the application had been completed as it should have been.
Okay.
But the ad in the application, at first when I was looking at it, I was saying, whoa here. But it was always my knowledge that, you know, say, this was worked out apparently, but I've always been taught that if you have an application, say for instance, and it says 75 feet, and it winds up with 135 feet, if it's less, you don't have to re-advertise, but if it's more, you have to re-advertise. But Livia has gotten everything straight, so I'm not gonna worry about that. She's taking care of it, so, go ahead and tell us what you need to tell us.
This is a reapplication that was submitted some time ago, and the owner that was proposing to buy the property, who I was representing and had submitted an application for, he changed his mind, decided not to buy that lot, so it kind of sat dormant for a while. Then Mr. and Mrs. Brown decided to purchase. They were going to do a smaller house, which fit on this lot more easily. So we kind of modified the original application. If you go back to the other, there you go. Have an existing riprap revetment on the upstream side. It's kind of small, but it's still a riprap revetment. So we're proposing to do a rock sill and tying into a spur on either end to keep from getting outflanked, which will help to contain the sand fill that we're doing. We're proposing to do a pier. So then the homeowner called me up. We had originally applied for that 75 feet. And he said that he was concerned about protecting the remainder of his property, which goes downstream across in front of that little pocket marsh, and it's actually up on the bank of the adjacent property owner. So he asked me if we could add an additional sill on the right-hand side there of 60 feet, which would help to protect that remaining shoreline of his. This is an undeveloped lot. There is no driveway, no house, as you all found out the other day when you were there. So it's kind of a modified living shoreline. The original application, they had proposed to do a riprap sill at the base of the bank, but that's been removed. And so I'll be glad to answer any questions you may have.
Anyone on the board?
This is a separate and apart from a future excavating project.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it really has nothing to do with, or your portion of the work, it really has nothing to do with that excavation, which will be future and probably come before this board later on. So I just
Yeah,
want to
that'll
make
be
that
up to
clear
the
because-
contractor to work, with land disturbance, and it's obviously they're gonna have to build a driveway. They need to clear a house site. There's a lot of site work that needs to be done that will come underneath a land disturbance permit rather than a wetlands permit.
And there was some question about how they're going to get the stone in there. I assume, and nobody really answered that question, but I assume it's coming in by barge.
Not necessarily. Once the homeowner gets with the contractor and decides where he wants his house site to be, and he gets all of his upland approvals, once that bank is regraded, there's really no reason why they can't do it from the land. This particular contractor has a new excavator that'll reach out about 50, 60 feet, so he can do it from the existing bank as it is, or he can do it from the newly graded slope whenever that occurs. And I have no idea when the Browns are planning on building.
Yeah, well, I spoke to him, and there's two entities going on there, and his brother was handling it, so he couldn't answer that question.
I understand.
Yeah. But again, it's separate and apart. This is, we're just voting on the
Right.
riprap and your project.
Yes. And I understand there are people here that would maybe wish to speak to this project.
Yeah.
So I will step back and allow that to happen.
So Edna, I'm a little concerned by the point you bring up with the 60-foot riprap sill that was added, because it was advertised as 75 linear feet of riprap sill with two 40-foot spurs. So would we need to go back out to advertise the additional 60 feet? Yes. Okay, so I think we probably are going to have to table it or just permit what was advertised, if you choose to.
I'll leave that up to you, but I just questioned that.
Right.
Because Jeff here could come back on us and say,
Right.
You didn't re-advertise that 60 feet. If it's less, you don't have to.
Right,
If
and it
it's
came in
more,
as a
you have
revision
to
with an addition.
advertise the additional
Was
footage.
that revision not submitted in a timely way for you to include
It was
that in
already
the ad?
advertised.
It was already advertised.
So, let's see if it's got a date on
When
it.
was that? This was done back in March.
Was it done without a permit at that
I
time?
don't mean the job was done, I mean the application was submitted back in March. And then the revision, do you have a date when that revision was received?
It looks like you've added it to the existing, but I don't have a date on here of when you sent that in. It might be in the packet on the VMRC website, but regardless, it wasn't advertised.
Okay, if that's the case, then I thought it was submitted in a timely manner that it could have been added to the original ad, but
Well,
apparently
we have to
not.
put them out 2 weeks in
Well, I
advance.
understand that. It should have been long before that.
So I think at this point, do you want to propose to just permit what you have without the 60, and then we'll do the 60 the next time, or do you want to table the whole thing?
Yeah, let's do that. Let's go ahead and approve what you advertised, and then if we have to come back anyway, so we'll come back for the 60.
Okay,
It's not going to be done for some time down the road, so it really doesn't matter.
I think it's best, really, to just table it until next month, re-advertise the 60 feet and do it all at once, rather than do some today and come back in July and do some, and that's my decision, but y'all, what do y'all think?
I think that's probably the way to do it.
I mean, I'm not trying to be, apparently, we have no time frame as to when they plan to do this anyway. I mean, you know,
it's not scheduled is what she's asking.
No.
Okay,
but I think, Livia, and the board, don't you all think, and the new members, that it would be best to just table it until July, the next meeting, re-advertise the 60 feet,
right.
and come back in July and approve it all?
I'm fine with
As
that,
it
if
is
that's how you
here.
want to do it.
Huh?
I'm fine with that if that's how you want to do it.
Because, I mean, I'm trying to simplify it to just do it and have a,
Right,
just like it is here, see? Advertising the 60, this drawing shows the 60 feet.
right.
And I,
So you just need a motion
Yeah.
to table it until next
well, I
time.
will ask the board what they think, and I'll entertain a motion for this, please.
How about if I make a proposal that we table it?
That would be excellent.
That makes it easier.
Okay, the agent is requesting us to table this until the next meeting.
You saved my day.
Hey, I'm asking, do I hear a motion?
Yes, I'd like
He's
to
already
move that
asked.
we table this until next meeting,
I'll second.
when we will
All
have,
in favor, signify, okay.
Thank you.
That, to me, makes more sense than piecemeal.
Excuse me, I do have one question.
Well, I'm sorry, I failed. Come forward to the podium, state your name and tell me.
I just wanted one clarification.
Ma'am, you have to state your name into the microphone.
Okay, my name is Sandra De Palma. I live at 663 Yops Cove, which is the lot adjacent to this lot. I noticed in the drawing and the 60 feet that you're talking about, that's on the right-hand side of the pier, that extra 10 feet that's showing, is that just out of the picture?
That's 10 feet wide. That's a width on that. So it's 60 feet long and 10 feet wide.
60, I have no problem.
You're fine.
So see, it's 10
I
feet
thought it was,
wide.
I
Glad
thought
you
it was
came.
still going across.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
have no problem.
Okay, so
thank you.
Brown was tabled. Oh. Let me see here. Oh, Olivia,
Yes, ma'am.
would you like to?
Yes. We have 2 violations to present.
Do you need any stuff here, or,
No, ma'am.
okay.
The first violation is on Little Bay and Anti-Poison Creek. It's at 199 Foxwells Lane. It was both a Bay Act violation and a tidal wetlands violation. A portion of the riprap revetment was removed. Stone was placed in the RPA, and on the opposite side, this property has water on both the front and the back side. Stone was placed all the way through the RPA into the tidal wetland. Jay Woodward looked at this with me, and we helped Mr. Brooks come up with a plan to reach compliance. He has since reached compliance. You can see he put the revetment back. This was where he did that here, and then he did his plantings in the RPA. He removed the inappropriately sized stone, both from out of the water and from the RPA, because he had put that stone all the way into the water where the riprap revetment formerly was located. He also stabilized the area with seed and straw and installed his mitigation plantings. So at this point, he has achieved compliance, and I don't feel there's any need for any fines.
Okay, y'all have heard. Excuse me, sir. The meeting is going on, if you don't mind. Roger? I'm sorry, excuse me. Olivia has taken care of all of this,
Yeah.
and you've heard what she said, so I think we need to do whatever she wants us to do with this.
So the property owner is in compliance now.
Correct, he has achieved
Okay,
compliance.
So therefore, we're not doing a civil charge.
Yes, ma'am, that would be my recommendation.
This
Okay.
board doesn't need to take action then.
Not on this topic. Mhm.
Okay, so,
The second wetlands violation would be the Dameron violation, which is at 107 Whaley Way on Indian Creek. They also had stone going through the RPA and into the water, and have placed a retaining wall along this side. They have worked to achieve compliance, stabilizing the RPA, and they've placed straw bales where the former location of that that inappropriately sized stone that went down into the water. It was smaller sized stone and gravel. So they pulled that stone out and planted some wetlands plantings, which I'm going to zoom in so you can see that there. Here, and these straw bales will be removed once they achieve stabilization. But we need Jay Woodward to look at it as well, and he's on vacation currently. He has plans to look at this when he gets back. So I'm going to wait for his advisement on how he wants to handle the wall that's in the tidal zone there. So we could either have that permitted, or it could be removed and stabilized, but I wanted to get his opinion on it first. And Jeff, if you wanted to weigh in, you're welcome to, but Jay hasn't looked at it yet, so I figured we'd let him look at it in the field.
Well, I will tell you that Gabion Bass, that looks like a Gabion wall. Is that what we're looking at right there? Yeah.
It's stacked stone.
Stacked, well, the problem with those kinds of structures is that if they're not adequately anchored or trapezoidal, like a sill, they may not resist the pressure from the wave action, and they may easily get undermined. In these situations, when the board looks at these sorts of things, in your mind, you should always be thinking, would we have permitted this had this come before us ahead of time? And I think you'd probably find that that particular design and the way it was constructed probably would not be persistent in that environment. How wide a creek is it? Or what's the fetch? Do you know what the fetch might be?
It's less than a quarter of a mile. It's pretty close.
Okay. But that would be my only question with that one.
And I agree with you, Jeff, and I think I see the need for some sort of retention there or
Yeah.
regrading and stabilization, but I'm not sure that this is the material that we would want
Yeah, that's
for
landscape
that.
material.
Yeah, exactly. And so once we get Jay out there to look at it as well and see if he needs anything else. I'm gonna send another letter to the Damerons with advisement on how we want to approach both that small retaining wall and the rest of it. But they have worked to achieve compliance thus far, and we're just kind of in a holding pattern, waiting for some advisement from Jay as well.
Okay, so.
And they're here today and wish to speak to you.
Well, come to the podium, please. State your name for the record.
Dennis Dameron, 94 Orchard Creek Drive, Whitestone, Virginia. And we have 5 properties in this county. And we thought we was doing the right thing. We had a tornado come through about 3 or 4 years ago, tore my property up. The drive going down to the water was nothing but trees. We removed 25 trees, stumps, and everything. And- Oh, thank you.
Oh, Olivia, papers that's put on the desk has to remain.
What's that?
Any papers laid on this desk need to be a part of the application.
Okay, well, he wanted to show you these pictures from the tornado.
Okay. Well, hold it up, don't lay it on the table.
Well, all that water is where the county wanted us to put the house.
You'll
I
have to keep
didn't, I
that.
didn't want the house. Yeah,
The-
give it to
The
him.
county will have to keep that for 30 days.
And this is where the county wanted me to put the house, right next to the 100-foot. But we wanted to go further out in the yard, because we got 2 acres. But this is where the county, and I got a approved septic system, approved further out in the drive. But this is where the county wanted me to put it. And the picture, you can see the picture of the mud and everything where the house was. So I
Well,
put,
Olivia, just a quick question.
Yes, ma'am.
Our jurisdiction, mean high water to mean low water, mean low water to mean high water 1.5 times.
That's right.
He's speaking of septic systems and the yard and whatever, we have no authority over that.
Right.
So-
yeah, I understand that.
So we'll keep it to the wetlands violation
Yes.
for today.
But I put the gravel down there to keep the erosion going down while I was building. I got a picture of the silt fence where the water came through the silt fence. So I put straw bales down at the end to keep the erosion from going into the creek. And I did everything I could to keep the water from going down there. But
Have you
I-
seen this, Olivia?
Yes, I took these pictures, and they did work hard to achieve some level of compliance here. So at this point, I don't recommend any fine. They're still willing to continue to work to achieve compliance.
Okay. As long as Olivia's happy, I'm happy, so whatever she says, we'll do.
But talking about the retaining wall, they got steel rods running down through the brickwork to keep it. The only reason I put the retaining wall there was because a big tree blew over, and I had to fill the stump up and everything so I could get to my pier.
And typically, that structure would be permitted with a joint
know,
permit
I know
application, and
now,
it would
yeah.
be of different material. And so we're gonna get you into compliance with that wall, whether it means it gets removed and a different wall is installed, or it's taken out and graded and stabilized, but we'll come up with something to help you there.
Okay, all right. Well,
And we'll
thank
work
you.
with VMRC on that as well.
I know, but you weren't the lady that came down I talked to.
Probably. I was probably that lady.
Yeah, it was her, and she came down and she looked at it and everything. She said, everything looks okay. You just get the gravel out of the roadway. It ain't no roadway, but it was a small roadway when we first bought the property. And I got all that off what they put in. But anyway, she said if I did what she told me to do, I wouldn't get fined, anything like that. So thank y'all.
Okay.
You know, whatever you decide, just let me. Well, that was the last violation, right?
Yes, ma'am. So we're on to
Okay,
appointments.
Now we're gonna, the appointments. Will Tolles has been reappointed to the board to serve, I'm sure, another 5 years. And he couldn't be here this week, but I'm sure he got the letter, and I will call him, Olivia, and express now that we're very happy to have him, join us. Okay,
Then the only item left is the approval of the meeting minutes.
is there anything else that we need to?
No, ma'am, just approval of the meeting minutes from April
Approval of the
13th.
minutes and adjournment, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Approval of the minutes, do I hear an approval of the minutes?
Yeah, I'd like to move to approve the minutes of,
Okay, all in favor? Minutes is approved. I adjourn the meeting at 10:17. So.